basically about halfway through not even halfway through wicdiv, when wicdiv was a success, and I realized, and the maps appeared, okay, I reckon we're gonna be able to do it. I was just thinking then is, what would I have done if wicdiv was only like we couldn't reach the end? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I said about telescoping earlier. I'm not. If I ever had a plan for wicdiv failing, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
And that's a rarity. In the case of but about halfway through, I started thinking, okay, what kind of writer do you want to be? This is like kind of like, because wicdiv was explicitly written to be the end of a stage of my life. Like it's the end of my, whatever counted as youth is over. It was a book about, I started writing it when I was 38. I knew it'd be over like 43. And of course, the character's having 2 years to live. That's clearly me being 38 looking at 40. That's, it's not even subtle. And it's like, okay, that stage of my life, whatever it is over. And plus I came away with two things. A part of me was like, I'm always want to do something I haven't done before. I wanted to be, I'm flirting with writing for different media. That's part of it. Okay, look at bigger stages, think about that. And the other stages, go weirder. You know what I mean? Like that's the other side. And like, it's the two poles are Robert Kirkman and Alan Moore, like biggest person on the planet, or I want to live in a house in Northampton and talk to my God. And it's like, well, those are two ways to think about art. And of course, I have a tendency towards dichotomies, which is bad. That's actually one of my weaknesses. But so just thinking in that space, so what do you want to do? And at least some of it is actually, my answer was kind of just flirt with both. So in the case of Die, it's like, I want to write something more complicated than wicdiv. I want to write something shorter about wicdiv. I want to write something more about characters at least as old as I am. I've got a basic rule at the moment. I'm not writing teenagers for years. Like, and if I ever that kind of like, I somehow wrote teenagers for like about a decade, and I never, I never planned that.
Wow.
It was like, Phonogram is mainly about 20 and for 20 somethings about to turn 30. There's like some teenagers in the second volume, but like people tend to count pop culture as teenage, but whatever. And then Generation Hope, they offered me that book. Great, I'll write it. Kid Loki. I didn't turn Loki into a kid. I pitched an Elric book basically.
Oh God, that would have been amazing. What you did was amazing, but that
actually
love
what Al Ewing ended up doing with Agents of Asgard was a little bit like what I was talking about. You know what I mean? Like sexy kind of like that kind of Loki. So Kid Loki leads the Young Avengers. Young Avengers, we're not stupid. We've got to do a book that connects to it. So suddenly we're writing teenagers for another 5. So that, you know what I mean? Like the flow, but that was never the plan. Like the thing about Phonogram is it was always about like loving of music. My dad left me a mixtape when he died.
Wow.
With like and also with notes about the songs, why he picked them.
Oh my God. Wow.
And that's the Phonogram story. You know what I mean? Like, it's always about what does music mean to people, and that's just, and I remember seeing at my mum's 70th birthday, I was DJing for them. And I took it very seriously, could you imagine? And so, when I played the Beatles, seeing Mum and her friends scream along with Twist and Shout, this weird kind of like flashback through time with Beatlemania. You know what I mean? Like original Beatlemaniacs doing it here. You know what I mean? That's what Phonogram about for me. Phonogram is about like how culture impacts us across time and space, rather than being about youth. That's my problem. It's like I flirted earlier that people misunderstanding Phonogram early on. And that's about the preconceptions and prejudices people have about pop culture, which is fine, but they're there. And I never thought that was the most innocent thing about that first volume. I never thought I had to explain that, being snobbish about music isn't cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's very rare I say I'm naive, but I was definitely naive then. So anyway, Die. So I was trying to write something that was shorter, with like more complicated characters, older. Not using the same techniques, working with a very different artist. Like Stephanie, I wanted to work with for ages, like since the Journey to Mystery covers. And like you have to work completely differently to Jamie. I also wanted to be really heavily, the research ended up taking over. I've written this whole RPG hanging off the side of Die, so which is available to download. It's about 100,000 words at the moment, the beta. It's a genuinely stupid project. like I'm sure we're going to eventually do people play it and like it, actually. That's the good thing. So I'm sure eventually we'll like turn it into a Kickstarter or something, because it's genuinely people like it. but like, so that, you know what I mean? Like, Die is this weird, hyper concentrated bit of nonsense, which I'm obsessed by, and people go along with. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That was Die. I mean,
And then
the Future.
I was going to say,
it's like Once the Future crept up on me because it's like I wasn't planning on that. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, Die's over here, and I'm going to think about other stuff, maybe a novel. And you, of course, you came with me. We're talking about Dan Mora. You know, it was similar. That sounds fun, and it was literally that sounds fun of it, because like I describe Die as in how much hard work it is.
Yep.
I don't understand like Once the Future is like easy, but at the same time, it's, you know what I mean? It's fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's not me sitting down with 500 books and doing that.
Right.
And this is actually the best thing about comics for me. Not the best thing. One of the best things. The best thing is getting you on. Is you get to change. You're not like stuck with a novel for a year. Right. It's like you get to like change. Like this week, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have Bridget shoot people in the face with a shotgun. I'm going to work out cool cutscenes. And next week, I'm going to talk about H.G. Wells' obsession about miniature toy soldiers. And then, you know what I mean? Like, you get to change up a lot. And when I'm picking projects, I'm always deliberately picking stuff which is different. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't write 4 Once and Futures. I couldn't write 4 Dies.
Yep.
I definitely couldn't write 4 Photographs. So like that was like, oh yeah, I think part of the whole was, you know, I do these books of Marvel, those kind of fun. All my indie books are always very serious to some. Yeah, they're funny, but they're quite portentous. Like even wicdiv, which the idea, why not do something that's fun, like Dr. Aphra? You know, something that's actually like people like, but do as a creator own book. You know, like do it like with a creator, you know, origin thing, and that's where Once the Future came from, and it's worked incredibly well. Like, God,
I just had the stunning realization we've completely overlooked Dr. Aphra, and I feel terrible. Sorry.
I know we haven't talked about Star Wars. I mean, I've been doing this forever, and I've talked mainly about fanzines. And the thing is, people, I'm pretty aware that people who are listening, especially if you've listened this far, like they've heard me talk about many stuff before. If you're interested in me for like an hour, you know, you probably have heard me talk about almost all this stuff before.
Right.
But yeah, Once the Future, I did Ludocrats, which is an idea from 2003. I wrote the first issue in 2007.
Wow.
Like,
that's staggering.
I wrote the second issue in 2007 because I wrote that first as a demo issue.
Wow.
And that was being developed alongside like Phonogram 2 and just kind of fell by the wayside.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that came out, we got that out, which was, and that was absolutely me having fun with my friends. Like that was always, it was meant to be a giggle, and it was. Obviously I'm back at Marvel. I'm doing like, I've just.
Oh, right. You've got the Eternals, right?
Yeah. I'm with Essad. So it's like, there was the case of like what job, you know, it's about jobs I haven't done before. Like previously at Marvel, I've done the useful supporting actor roles, like really big books and powerful characters, but like not always setting the rhythm. You know, like you hear the beat and I'm following it. Whilst Eternals, I get a chance to ground up, build something. You know, as in, let's look at the Eternals. Why do they work? Why don't they work? How can we improve them? And sitting and doing that, and it kind of almost. And also bringing the skill, you know, like the thing about wicdiv that struck me at the time is how much I learned from Marvel and applied to wicdiv and took it further. Like the what I could do with scale and like the page, you know, the page breaks in wicdiv, how we did cheat pages, like you know, we divided a 6-panel grid, make half the panels black, split that over 2 pages. You basically got 2 pages of content for 1 page of art. Therefore, we could spread it, you know, like. But I invented that stuff at Marvel because I was trying to find ways to make my comic, because they cut from 22 pages to 20 pages.
Right.
And my books were cut, was some of the first to be cut.
Wow.
Not personally, but just because the way it was sliding out. So at that stage, I was always looking for ways to pad the content without costing money. So if you look at my books at the time, especially Journey into Mystery, there's all kind of bits where I go black page, or okay, use the same page twice and re-letter it, or you know, like that's
so smart.
formless tricks, the magic, if you will.